Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this webinar on Don't Pollute, How to Properly Dispose of Toxics in Your Community. It's presented by the County of San Mateo Office of Sustainability and the Sustainability Academy. My name is Judy Gregory, and I'm joined by Hillary Papendick and Julia Au. And we are prepared to share some information today with you on how you can learn more about pollution prevention and proper disposal of pollutants within San Mateo County. So as I mentioned, the two primary speakers today will be myself and Julia, and then Hillary will be presenting some information as well on the Office of Sustainability. All right, so today during our presentation, we're going to cover a few things. First of all, Hillary's going to provide an overview of the Sustainability Academy. Then we'll learn about what is pollution prevention and how we can reduce toxics and hazardous materials in our homes and communities. We'll talk about the proper disposal of HHW, which is household hazardous waste, and other hard-to-handle materials. And then we're going to share some information on some other great upcoming webinars, classes, and events that will be happening in San Mateo County. All right, so with that, I want to hand it over to Hillary Papendick, who is going to share a bit about the Sustainability Academy. Welcome, Hillary.
Great. Thanks, Judy. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfectly.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Hillary Papendick, and I manage the Climate Change and Adaptation Program at the County of San Mateo's Office of Sustainability. Thank you, everyone, for joining us during your lunchtime today. We have some great information planned out to share with you all today and in the next hour. So next slide. The Sustainability Academy is part of the County of San Mateo's Office of Sustainability. This academy used to be a program under RecycleWorks, which is a separate division within the Department of Public Works. But it merged with the county's Office of Sustainability about 2 years ago, back in July 2014, when the Office of Sustainability was established. The Office of Sustainability's overall objective is to promote sustainability in the county through the planning, development, and implementation of many different types of programs. As you can see on this slide, we provide services through our 4 work groups: energy and environment, climate change, waste reduction, and livable communities. The Sustainability Academy falls under the climate change work group. Next slide. This should be the Sustainability Academy slide. Through the Academy, the Office of Sustainability is offering no-cost sustainability educational opportunities to you, the members of San Mateo County. The Academy's goal is to raise awareness around sustainability and empower our San Mateo County community members with the knowledge and skills to promote resource conservation in their communities. Next slide. Actually, keep on this slide. Go back one. So now I'll talk a little bit about our offerings this coming year in 2017. Upcoming offerings include a webinar series, including this one, and an 8-week master course on various sustainability topics, including energy, water, pollution prevention, solid waste, sea level rise, and transportation. Of course, if you have any questions about the Academy and its offerings, please feel free to reach out to me. My contact information, as well as, I believe, Ensu Lim, who's our coordinator, is on the last page. So now a little bit about our team. I provide a high-level oversight and direction for the program, and Ensu Lim manages the day-to-day operations of the Academy. So she's the person you should reach out to with specific questions. We are also working very closely with the Cascadia Consulting Group and their team, including Judy, who is facilitating this webinar, to provide all of these Academy offerings for our community members. Our Academy team is working hard to make sure that our community members have the opportunity to take full advantage of this great program. I'm happy to answer more questions at the end of the webinar.
Great. Thanks, Hillary. I appreciate that. That's a great lead-in. If anybody does have questions as we go through and something pops up, feel free to go ahead and just raise your hand or type a question in the chat box. I'm going to be presenting next, so it might take me a few minutes to look over between presenting and the screens. But as we hit natural stops in the presentation, just so you know, I will get to you. So if you raise your hand or something, don't think I've forgotten about you. All right. Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and dive right in. And we are going to kick off with pollution prevention and what it is. And just to give you the definition, pollution prevention, which oftentimes we refer to as P2, is any practice that reduces, eliminates, or prevents pollution at its source. And pollution can occur in many ways to our environment. It can happen through the emission to our air and atmosphere, to our waters and ocean, and to our lands. But a lot of what we're going to focus on today is related to material pollution through the products we use and dispose of or improperly dispose of. And when we reduce consumption of a pollutant-causing product, it actually reduces the harmful impacts to the environment in general. So it's a very important part of our environmental health as well as our individual and personal health. So currently, only about 10% of HHW or household hazardous waste is properly disposed in California. And it's really important that we make adequate and convenient collection and provide education to residents about the harms of improper disposal. Much of recent legislation in California has actually focused on hard-to-handle materials and pollutants that pose a threat to the environment. And in this section, we're going to cover what some of those materials are and how you can either eliminate them or make sure to properly dispose of them. So the key things we want to focus on first are reducing or eliminating the pollutant or waste at the source. We also want to look at the use of non-toxic or less toxic substances. We want to implement conservation techniques, reuse materials rather than putting them in the waste stream. And as I mentioned, just really making sure that we have adequate and convenient collection. And that's something that Julia is going to cover more in her part of the presentation. So what are some of the common pollutants? Well, I've kind of broken it down into two different areas. One would be the more common HHW or household hazardous waste items, like batteries, light bulbs, paints and solvents, garden and lawn products, used motor oil and filters or other automotive fluids and car batteries, household cleaners, beauty products, swimming pool products, thermostats, and thermometers. And then on the other side, we have some of the more hard to handle materials, which would be things like needles or sharps, pharmaceuticals, medicine, electronic waste, and plastic bags. And again, the issue is that we only properly dispose of about 10% of these materials, which means the other 90% are going into our general waste stream, which means they're a pollutant to the environment. And the problem with these common materials is that they aren't disposed of in ways that are generally convenient and intuitive to the public. And that's the issue is, we're so used to being able to just kind of toss things out in the trash when we're done with them. But these are kinds of materials that when they're placed in the trash can and then they're mixed with our general garbage and either landfill or incinerated, that the effects are dangerous to humans and the environment. And unfortunately, with 90% of these kinds of materials still going into the trash, and then these materials in general just represent about 5% of our entire waste stream, we have a very systematic problem. And so webinars like today hopefully will help provide education that even you can share in your communities as to how to take advantage of the local opportunities to properly dispose of them. So you're probably wondering why this big issue exists. And a big part of the problem is the rate at which new products are being both introduced and consumed by our society. So prior to the 1960s, we purchased products that had a much more limited material composition. Products were longer lasting, they were durable, they contained less toxic and complex materials. But over the last 50 years, industries have created millions of new products. And as you can see, I'm going to have the information pop up on this slide, that the sheer generation of materials has increased so exponentially over the last few years compared to any other time in history. And so really keeping up with means to properly dispose and do things with these products is the challenge. Besides the toxicity of products today, we have the issue of being a convenience-oriented society, which has led to many disposable products. So in the last 50 years, we've seen an enormous increase in multi-layer packaging, single-use products that have no place in existing recycling programs. We don't have collection systems or markets available to support all the variations of material types. And daily, we have new products, that arrive on the market that are kind of outpacing our ability to keep up with ways to properly dispose of them. So the other issue is litter. Litter can lead to a whole range of different problems within our communities, and when it's discarded in streets and parks, it travels through stormwater systems to rivers and creeks, where it can be very harmful, not to just us as humans, but also to wildlife. And removing litter from our environment is a cost to our communities and our society. Litter attracts vermin. It's a breeding ground for bacteria, and items like broken glass and syringes can actually be health hazards when they're littered in public places. Accumulated litter and careless discarded items like cigarette butts can cause fire hazards. And litter negatively affects the image of places, especially the appearances in our communities. It sends a message that we don't care about the area. And so, when we're talking about pollution, litter is a part of that as well. The great thing is that California is very progressive, and over the last 10 years or so has definitely worked to abate pollutants through a number of legislative efforts. And I'm just going to briefly share some of the key laws that California has passed in recent years that have helped with litter. So probably one of the most well-known and prominent anti-litter laws was the Bottle Bill. It was passed in 1986, so it's actually been around quite a while. And the goal of the Bottle Bill was to make sure that single-serving bottles weren't littered. And so, as most of you know, there's a redemption fee placed on all single-serving beverages in California that you pay when you purchase it. And then when you return that bottle, you get your redemption fee back. And that money has also helped to create a huge infrastructure within California where bottles can be returned at convenient locations. They're called convenience centers throughout California. So it's a great example of a very effective law. And if you look at the average recycling rate of glass, plastic, and aluminum beverage containers in the U.S. in general, it ranges from about 30 to 50%, whereas in California, it's between 70 and 95% redemption rate and recycling rate of those. So it's a great example of how a law can work to help with that. SB 20 was passed in 2003, and that's the Electronic Waste and Recycling Act. And what that did is put a fee on certain electronic items that is collected at the retail point or the point of sale, as we call it. And that money goes to help refund electronic recycling companies that will either collect or recycle those materials, and has helped to create a tremendous amount of infrastructure within California to make sure that electronics are correctly recycled and disposed of. And what we find is that if they are collected and taken to a proper recycling center, that the recycling diversion rate of those materials is over 90%. And a lot of it actually goes into refurbishing the items that can then be donated out. So if we properly dispose of electronics in California, there are a ton of great opportunities for making sure that they are either recycled or reused. Another more recent law was AB 1343, which is the Paint Recovery Act in 2010. Again, that has established a point of sale fee that is placed on every gallon of paint, and then you have the opportunity to return empty paint cans or partially filled paint cans back to the point of sale place for free. And if you go to www.paintcare.org, you can actually put in your zip code and it'll tell you the nearest place to you, and they're everywhere. So it's very easy and convenient to find a local place to return your paint. Another law was AB 2398, which is the Carpet Product Stewardship, again in 2010. And that is very similar to paint and electronics. It establishes a fee at the point of sale per square yard. And I think that fee just went up to 25 cents, if I'm not mistaken, at the beginning of this year. And again, then it helps establish collection points throughout California. I will say that carpet is one of the top 10 most prevalent materials disposed in California. It's bulky and difficult to manage and actually has the 4th largest greenhouse gas footprint of any product waste in California. So it's not just about the material, but it's about the greenhouse gas impacts of it. In the US in general, only about 1% is recycled. However, in California, I believe our carpet recycling rate is around 14%. So we still have a long way to go, but policies like this do help to reduce the amount of material going into the landfill. And then the last one is just used mattresses. Again, there are a number of mattresses that end up illegally dumped. And in fact, California estimates 4.2 million mattresses are discarded annually and less than 5% are recycled. So this bill has created a system whereby if you buy a new mattress, at a retail store, you have the opportunity to drop off your old mattress for free. And I wanted to bring up, we're going to talk about it in a bit, but another great policy is our plastic bag ban. And so Julia will talk about that in a minute. But things that aren't done at a state level can also be done at a local level. So what we found is that many communities have gone beyond what California has done and implemented local policies which help reduce waste and its impacts. So some of these kinds of local policies would include zero waste, polystyrene bans, bottled water ordinances, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about safe medicine disposal as well. All right, so Julia's going to share a little bit about the newly passed California plastic bag ban.
Hello, everyone. Before I get into the California law, I kind of wanted to quickly share what San Mateo County has done. So in 2012, San Mateo County Board of Supervisors passed the reusable bag ordinance, which went into effect in 2013. At most retail stores, all the San Mateo County cities, except for one, passed similar ordinances. Actually, Millbrae has their own ordinance. And restaurants were exempt, and retail stores are not allowed to distribute plastic carryout bags to their customers and must charge customers for purchase of what we call an allowable bag, which in San Mateo County is actually a minimum of 25 cents, except for Millbrae, which is 10 cents. For California, if you remember just a few months ago, this past November, there was a proposition on the ballot, Prop 67. It was a referendum placed on the ballot by bag manufacturers to overturn a Senate bill, a state law, Senate Bill 270, that was actually signed by Governor Brown back in 2014 to ban single-use plastic bags from grocery, pharmacy, liquor, and convenience stores in California. And a yes vote for Prop 67 would uphold the existing law that was signed, and thankfully Prop 67 did pass by 53% yes vote. Just background, many counties that had passed bag ordinances voted in favor of the proposition, including San Mateo, San Francisco, LA. Any local ordinances passed prior to the initial law, SB 270, are grandfathered in, which means San Mateo County's ordinance preempts the state legislation, and that's important because that means our fee stays at 25 cents. So if you see retailers saying it's 10 cents, that's actually wrong unless you're in Millbrae. San Mateo County, yeah, I think that's it. And many retailers actually offer rebates for bringing your own bag nowadays. I know at Target, Sprouts, and there's probably a few others that do that. So that's it about the bag ban. So I think next slide. So I also wanted to talk a little about sharps and medicines. So, and they're too often hard to dispose of items for residents and has led to environmental and safety concerns over the years. Sharps or needles were actually banned from California landfills in 2007 and are required to be placed in puncture-proof containers before being properly disposed of. However, these items still end up in trash and in non-puncture-proof containers, leading to a safety hazard for solid waste workers who sort waste by hand. So such as, some people often put their sharps in flutter tubs or laundry detergent bottles, and when they're being sorted, line workers think they're recyclables and they're handled as such, and it poses a serious threat, which I know has happened throughout the state, that workers have been, stuck by needles because of this. Same goes for medicines. So medicines are important in saving lives, but they also can take lives and have negative environmental and public health consequences. We don't want people to send meds down the toilet or sinks for unintended effects on animals and microorganisms in the environment. It creates those problems downstream because water treatment plants aren't designed to handle these sophisticated chemical compounds. In landfill, there's landfill leachate, and they can get into the soil. And in the trash, it doesn't prevent people from stealing from your trash can, and also where it can be abused. And proper disposal for meds is actually very inconsistent and isn't very convenient. So the next slide talks about what San Mateo County did. So I'm going to back up just a little bit, but because of these issues, actually back in 2006, San Mateo County Supervisor, then Supervisor Tissier, initiated the county's take-back program for unused and unwanted medicines at law enforcement agencies, so police stations. We were one of the first in the nation to do that. Fast forward to 2015, where we conducted a survey of over 1,800 residents that revealed 35% of residents still, 35% of these people still throw away meds in the trash or toilet, or they store them at home. So to address this, the county passed the Safe Medicine Disposal Ordinance in 2015. The goal is to increase the number of sites that can take medicines and create greater convenience. The ordinance follows what we call an extended producer responsibility, or EPR, approach that involves manufacturers taking on the responsibility, so funding and paying for it, funding and creating the end-of-life disposal for their products. So San Mateo County is now one of 8 counties in California to have a safe medicine ordinance, and we're in the middle of implementation right now. It's one of the projects I oversee, and we expect to announce a program up and running soon, and we're really excited that this is happening in San Mateo County. So cross your fingers on that one.
Great. Thanks, Julia. Okay, so we're going to get the audience involved again. We're going to go ahead and launch another poll. So which of the following items have you improperly disposed before? Now, this is not to judge anybody. This is just to really share the challenges and misunderstanding that I think the public has for proper disposal of these types of materials. I know that when I was younger, I didn't know, and I changed the oil on my car one day and just threw it down the drain. So it happens, and I think that a lot of us have dealt with that before and just really wondering what we're supposed to do. So if you have anything that you've improperly disposed of before and you want to share that, go ahead and log it in on the poll, and then I'm going to close it in just a second. A lot of people have improperly disposed of medicine, pharmaceuticals, and batteries. That's a big one. I think batteries is huge. We also have people registering paint, e-waste, and hazardous waste. So it is common, and again, I think it just goes back to what's intuitive for us when we're disposing of things that we don't need anymore, and how if it's not convenient, it won't get done properly. Okay, so let's talk about what are some of the alternatives that are out there for the common pollutants that we have. One great way to reduce the exposure to household toxins is to actually use alternative cleaners and other products. And these not only increase the environmental impacts, but they reduce our personal exposure to harmful chemicals as well. And San Mateo County is going to actually be holding a green home workshop. It's a face-to-face workshop later this year, and we're looking at including a part in the workshop on do-it-yourself tips on how you could create and make some of these other types of do-it-yourself products. They might include cleaners, so using lemon, vinegar, borax are all alternatives. Alternative insect abatement, such as talc, chili powder, borax, citrus. certain plants, things like that. And in our home and garden, looking at using alternatives to fungicides and herbicides and things like that we use in our garden. And alternatives would be compost and organic mulches. And if you do have an interest in this area, I just, type it into your Google, and you will find videos, and you'll find lots of websites that will give you basically recipes to make these things. It's pretty prevalent on the website, so it's a great way to find out more about it. There are other things that you can do it yourself related to your home and auto that will also help reduce the impact. So paint is a big one. There's a lot of tools out there now that will actually help you identify how much paint you need for a certain area so that you don't overbuy. Same thing with oil. Switching away from single-use water bottles to reusable bottles is a great way to reduce litter. Not washing your car at home because then that water goes into the storm drain, whereas car washes actually have a system to usually recover and recycle that water. Making sure that we're buying longer lasting products, things like rechargeable batteries, different pool water systems, and looking at neighborhood share for products that you don't use that often. So those are just some things that you can do around your home to help reduce pollutants. Another big one has to do with electronics. Electronic waste is one of the fastest growing material streams. And I actually was working in a community where in 2013 we did an electronic waste collection event, and in that year we collected about 13 tons of material, and in 2016 it had grown to 75 tons. So electronic waste is definitely growing, and there are a lot of things that you can do to help reduce the impacts of electronic waste. So just looking at your purchasing in the first place, do you really need certain gadgets and electronics, or can you find certain devices that have multiple functions versus multiple devices? Looking at extending the life of your products by keeping them clean and keeping the batteries properly charged. Looking at electronics that have the Energy Star rating on them is also a good way to make sure that you're getting long-lasting and products that use less energy. And then repairing or replacing outdated parts instead of replacing the entire device. And then when you're done, looking into donation opportunities. And then the last thing is just looking at stormwater and ocean pollution prevention practices. And even though you may live miles away from the bay, the Pacific Ocean, the fact is that the water from your neighborhood does enter the storm drain system and flows directly to local creeks, the bays, and the ocean without treatment. And when it's contaminated, which it often is, by pollutants, it can be toxic to fish, wildlife, and to people. So we don't want to put things in the gutter, street, or storm drain. And that would include items like motor oil and fluids, because if your car leaks when it rains, that runoff will go into the storm drain. Same with antifreeze, paints, household cleaners, soap from washing your car, weed killers, litter, pet waste left on lawns and streets does that as well. Even things like dirt, leaves, lawn clippings, they can clog storm drains, back them up, or soil from construction and landscaping that would erode. So any type of pollutant that could be carried away into the storm drain is something that could potentially be harmful to the environment. So just keep that in mind. And then participate in local cleanup events. All right, so opportunity for you to participate right now. If you want to share a question, share an answer in the question box about a pollutant, toxic material, or household hazardous waste that you've eliminated or reduced from use and how you alternatively did that. It'd be great if you type that in the question box, and you don't have to, if you don't have anything or don't think of anything right now, you can continue to type those in throughout the presentation, and we will share responses from the audience. Julia is going to actually talk on our next section, which would be how to properly dispose of HHW and pollutants. Julia works as a pollution prevention specialist for San Mateo County Environmental Health Services. She currently manages outreach for the Household Hazardous Waste Program implementation and enforcement of the county's Safe Medicine Disposal Ordinance, and is the county coordinator for Coastal Cleanup Day, among other products. She has over 10 years experience in policy, outreach, and program and project development with local government and nonprofits on various environmental issues, having previously worked at San Francisco's Department of the Environment, California Product Stewardship, and Californians Against Waste. Julia has a Bachelor's of Science from UC Davis in Environmental Policy Analysis and Planning. So Julia, welcome.
Hello.
Hello. I'm going to change you to the presenter as well right now.
Okay. You guys can see the screen?
We can see it. We got it.
All right. So should I just get started?
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about proper disposal, mostly focusing on hazardous waste and e-waste and some other products. So I know Judy kind of talked about this, about what household hazardous waste, or HHW as we like to call it, are stuff like cleaning products, fertilizers, pesticides, flammable liquids, fluorescent lights, paint, batteries, used oil and filters, and photochemicals. Hazardous waste, it's a rapidly growing problem that accounts for a lot of toxic waste in landfills, even though we have all these disposal options. We'll also talk about universal waste, which is commonly generated hazardous waste, which is what electronic waste falls under. So e-waste is obviously a massive problem, and I won't go over too much since Judy has talked about it, but e-waste such as computers, TV, cell phones, fax machines, stereos, and other electronic-related equipment. Quick stat, Californians buy more than 2.2 million computer systems each year, and currently about 50% of U.S. households own a computer. So there's a lot of stuff out there. Is it getting properly disposed? Hopefully. It sounds like 3/4 of all the computers ever sold in the U.S. remain stockpiled awaiting disposal, which is, I think, pretty true. So, and currently over 50 tons of electronics are recycled in San Mateo County each month. So next slide is about the collection program. So actually, I don't know what you guys can see. So I'm going to quickly go over some of the programs available in San Mateo County. There's many options to dispose of your hazardous waste, and I'll cover what the county does, what some of our local garbage companies offer, and then some specific waste streams also have specific programs for them, which we kind of mentioned throughout this presentation already. So I'll just jump right in. So first is San Mateo County's Household Hazardous Waste Program. So environmental health, which is the department I work in, we oversee the Household Hazardous Waste Collection Program. The program helps residents dispose of or recycle their residential hazardous waste properly for free. County residents can drop off, all those range of HHW that I've mentioned. The only thing we don't accept is electronic waste, unfortunately. So we accept almost every other hazardous waste except for that. All the waste is either reused, recycled, processed for energy recovery, or stabilized for proper disposal to achieve zero waste being landfilled. We have a permanent facility in the city of San Mateo that's open Thursdays through Saturdays, except major holiday weekends. We also have events at several local communities on a monthly or annual basis in Daly City, Pacifica, Portola Valley, South City, Menlo Park, Redwood City, La Honda, East Palo Alto. The program is by appointment only. We have a limit of the number of cars each location can hold, which is why we have appointment system. And the program is for residents only, and we accept, as I said, we accept most common waste. There's a limit of 10 pounds or 50 gallons per appointment. You can make an appointment online at the website on the screen, or you can call us. I realize the phone number is not on there, but everything is on our website. For some of the items we collect at these events, they're still in good working condition, or they're still full or not expired. I've been to events where I've seen people turn in unopened bottles of 7th generation cleaning chemicals and wipes. So instead of properly disposing them, we actually give them away for free at a product giveaway event that is held on the 1st and 3rd Thursdays of the month from 3 to 4 at our warehouse, which is in Redwood City. If you go to the main HHW website, which is on the last page, there's a link to where specifically our event is held. So, which is great because reuse is better than recycling. We also have a program for small businesses. So the very small quantity generator program is services any business that generates less than 100 kilograms, which is about 220 pounds or 27 gallons of hazardous waste per month. The VSQG program is designed to provide an inexpensive hazardous waste disposal option to mostly small businesses, nonprofits, and some government agencies that doesn't want to go to a hazardous waste facility, a bigger one, to dispose of their waste. So that's about our business program. And
all right, so the polling question is, where have you disposed of hazardous waste in the past year? And the options are a retail drop-off site, a county HHW facility, at the curb, or other. And so the results are, wow, 33% said retail drop-off, 33% said county HHW facility, and 33% said other, and nobody selected at the curb. Julia?
Okay, got it. I mean, so I only briefly just talked about our facility. I haven't mentioned retail or other, so I'll get into that in the next couple of slides, and we'll mention some of those other options. But that's interesting to know that people are using retail in our facility, and I don't know what other is, but maybe that's the transfer stations and garbage company stuff, which I'll mention in the next couple of slides. Okay, so you can still see my screen, right? Okay.
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, so transfer stations and curbside disposal. So, and I'll mention what curbside is because maybe you didn't understand what that was. So some transfer stations in San Mateo County accept limited types and volumes of HHW, such as oil, paint, lights, and batteries. And that includes all four that are mentioned up there, South Bay Recycling in San Carlos, Blue Line in South City, Recology of San Bruno transfer station, and the Pescadero transfer station. The one I forgot that should be on there is Recology of the Coast, which is in Pacifica. They do accept what I mentioned, batteries, lights, oil. Ox Mountain Landfill in Half Moon Bay also accepts certain HHW, including, I know, oil for sure. I would check all their websites for information and for specific details. Most garbage companies, actually all the garbage companies, offer curbside collection for batteries. So if you didn't know this, you could actually, if you live in a single-family home or a home that has the bins outside, you can put your batteries in a Ziploc bag and then put them either on top of, or in some cases, you have to put them inside a bin. But for the most part, you put them on top of either your recycling or garbage bin on garbage day. Two of our waste haulers, Republic Services and Green Waste, actually offer CFLs and cell phones at curbside as well, where you can put on top of that for single-family homes only. So those are other options. So there's, as I said, there's lots of options to dispose of commonly used HHW. Next is filters, used motor oil and filters. So San Mateo County has a very robust used oil program with over 65 locations that accept used motor oil and oil filters. Some people don't know that filters can be recycled. They're just steel, so they can be remade into other steel products. Check out our sites on our website, which I realize is not on there, but it's smchealth.org/used oil, so you can get to it from our HHW page. 4 of our 6 garbage companies also offer used oil and filter collection at the curb. So if you have, again, your 3 bins, you can put oil in a clear container, and you can put your filters in a Ziploc bag, and then you put them next to your bins on collection day, which is really great. It's very popular. Some garbage companies, you have to use their own bins, but you know, just check your garbage company. And just so you know, the 2 that don't do it are Recology of the Coast and Recology San Bruno. Next is paint. So as mentioned previously, California passed a paint stewardship law that included having convenient disposal options for residents and businesses. Paint Care was created, and in the past 3 years or so has set up more than 700 drop-off sites for leftover paint at retailers and other sites throughout California. There's over 25 in San Mateo County at last count. Most are at paint retail locations, so it's Sherwin-Williams, Kelly Moore. OSH, which I spelled wrong, is Orchard Supply Hardware, also takes back paint. as well as if you guys are familiar with Hassett Hardware, there's 3 locations in San Mateo County. They also take back paint as part of the paint care program. So paintcare.org for all your paint needs. If you're a huge business or you're a contractor or consultant that accumulates a lot of paint, you can actually get paint picked up from your location, or you're an apartment building that generates a lot of paint. You can call for a pickup. All the information is on their website. And that's it about paint. And then quickly about electronics. So as we said, there's lots of e-waste, different types of e-waste. I guess I kind of mentioned a lot of this already. And I know, and there's lots of different options for recycling. Obviously, for electronic waste, a lot of it can be reused, such as Goodwill. I know will take back electronic waste and for refurbishing and reuse instead of recycling. Obviously, we want to start with the most reuse is higher in the chain. So I think that's all I want to talk about e-waste for now. And if you guys have questions about proper disposal of e-waste, I know it's always changing. And then I mentioned reuse. So San Mateo County has a guide, a reuse guide that lists all the organizations that accept donations of working electronics. Oh, I guess this is one of the options. So remember to donate working items, obviously, before, unless they're completely broken. So this is, there's a link, there's a website link on here. So at RecycleWorks, there's a link for reuse for not just e-waste. I think there's other items as well mentioned. Other resources for e-waste, obviously, as I mentioned Goodwill, but that's not on here. Green Citizen also takes e-waste. Straw Flower Electronics in Half Moon Bay, I just found out that they started charging for e-waste. I have to double check on that one. And then here's a handful of other locations. So as I said, the county's facility doesn't take back e-waste, but there's a lot of other options for e-waste recycling. And then if you guys have any other questions or want more information about electronic waste, these are some websites that have information to learn more about the issue if you have time on your free time with e-waste recycling and issues just around e-waste in general. It's been going on for so long that I've been in this industry long enough that there's lots of stuff happening all the time about electronics just because it's always there. There's always new things coming out, so we have to find a way to dispose of them. I also want to talk about sharps. So I talked about what sharps are, so I'm not going to go over that. Or about sharps waste and why it's bad. But as I said, because it's banned from landfill, we have to find a way to properly dispose of them. There are sites around the county. We have a few. Some are managed by healthcare facilities. So Kaiser, I know, has sharps bins in most of their facilities. And then we also have some bins at the San Mateo Medical Center, and one right near our hazardous waste location in San Mateo, city of San Mateo. So I would just check the website, which is not on here, but it's smchealth.org/sharps. Hopefully we'll include that in information when we send it to you guys after this presentation for sharps proper disposal. And then for medicines, as I said, we have the ordinance, and we 10 years ago, or more than 10 years ago, we started that program. It's still there, so while we wait for the new program to roll out, there's still one that exists at over 14 police stations around the county. You can find information about those sites on our website. That's on the page. And when you dispose of them, we really just ask people to remove any excess packaging, consolidate pills, and then you can recycle the bottles, just cross out any important information about yourself, and then leave liquids in the original container. And then as an added thing, some organizations have gone on and decided they want to do medicine disposal on their own. So Walgreens decided to do that. They set up over 500 locations around the nation. We have only one in this county, but if you live near Burlingame, the Burlingame Walgreens on El Camino and Burlingame Avenue actually has a medicine bin that Walgreens manages. It's Walgreens program. And then we just learned recently that Kaiser is starting their own program as well. They rolled out for a couple bins in San Francisco, and then San Mateo County is supposed to get a bin hopefully by the end of the month at its Redwood City location, Kaiser. And they're all independent from what the ordinance is doing, but it's really great to see other people doing that since medicine is a growing problem everywhere. And then I already talked about the ordinance, so that's good. And then I think I'll read the poll question. So the poll question is there a product that you have at home that you don't know how to properly dispose of? If so, type it in the question box, and hopefully I can help you, or someone can help you.
Right, and that one is more of a type it in your question box. There's not a polling. And
Okay.
so if anybody has, and we do have somebody raising their hand, so let me go ahead and see who that is. And if you do have questions, feel free to type them in. I'm going to take back the screen, and I'm going to go over a couple more things before the end of our webinar, but we do have 8 more minutes. We'll be on the line, so if questions come up, you can type them up. And actually, we did get a couple questions, so let me read those to you, Julia. One asks, are there any locations that take really small quantities of sharps, for example, 3 lancets that a house guest might have used while visiting?
Unfortunately, there isn't. So you still would have to put it in a puncture-proof container and just take it to one of our locations on our website. There's no easy method for sharps. I work closely with the med coordinator here, and no, unfortunately not. So, but if you check our website, there are locations, hopefully near you, that you can take them back. But yeah, so I'm sorry.
Okay, we have a couple more, so they're coming in. I'm just going to keep going through them. Another one asks, how do I dispose of smoke detectors or CO2 detectors that we've replaced?
So this is a very common question we get. So for smoke detectors and CO detectors, oftentimes the manufacturers have a mail-back program to take them back. So I would first check with the manufacturers and see if there's something on their website about taking them back. Otherwise, we unfortunately categorize them as trash just because there's nothing, no system for us to take them back. But a lot of the manufacturers do take them back. So I would check there first.
Great. And that's a great suggestion for almost any product. I know there's lots of weird, interesting things. Even we just finished, the holidays and Christmas lights, and there are a lot of places that will allow you to send back Christmas lights. So always check with the manufacturer is a great suggestion. Okay, what about nail polish and other beauty products?
So nail polish can actually be taken through our household hazardous waste program. We obviously suggest if you have nail polish and other items like batteries, paint, floors, and lights, you just gather them together and make an appointment through our program. There's no other program that I know of that takes back nail polish. Anything that's a liquid, that's a beauty product, so such as like sprays and stuff like that, we'll take them. No, I don't think there's anything that we don't take, as long as there's still stuff in it. If it's completely empty and it's a recyclable item like glass or plastic, that should be able to go in the recycling bin. So, but nail polish stuff, we can't take through our program.
Okay, and then we have 2 somewhat related questions, so I'll throw them both out at the same time. Where do I take styrofoam or EPS and EPS coolers that medicine comes in?
Styrofoam is a tricky subject. I'm hoping, I know, Judy, you wanted to use the demo, the Recycle Works.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we can do styrofoam. I know in San Mateo County, the only place I know to recycle styrofoam is at Recology of the Coast in Pacifica. You unfortunately have to be a Pacifica resident, but I know they take back styrofoam. But yeah, styrofoam is a really tricky subject just because it's hard to recycle and it's quite expensive. Or you can recycle it, but it's very expensive. So a lot of people don't recycle it. So
right.
Some of the packing companies like UPS and FedEx will take back the packing peanuts sometimes, but it's gotten very difficult for them to take them back. So, but yeah, styrofoam is a little tricky, so you kind of have to dig around a little bit.
Right. It definitely is a hard one. And I would say probably one of my best suggestions is just try and eliminate it in the first place. I know a lot of products, unfortunately, that we get come in them, and we don't have much control over that. But all right, so we had another question on light bulbs and pens or writing instruments.
Oh yeah, and I didn't talk about that, about light bulbs. So I don't know about pens and writing utensils. But for light bulbs, if they're regular incandescent ones, so like the really old ones, those are trash. But the curly ones, the compact fluorescent lights, all the fluorescent lights, they can be recycled. So for CFLs, the compact ones, a lot of the hardware stores take them back, especially the chain ones such as Osh, Home Depot, and Lowe's. They all have programs. If you have tubes, like not the bulbs, like fluorescent tubes, San Mateo County has a program about 9 hardware stores that we have. They're all small hardware stores such as Hassett and Ace affiliate stores. We take them back as part of our program that the county services. So, but for the bulbs, CFLs, you can almost take them to most big hardware stores, and IKEA takes them back, and then, but incandescents are trash.
Perfect. All right. Well, if you need more information, I just want to point out that on the screen there are just a few of the websites and resources that you can contact. But what I'm going to do is we have a great handout. It's 2 or 3 pages long with a ton of resources to local websites for local programs, information where you can find out more details on lots of things. I'll make sure to include that. Everybody, tomorrow at 10 a.m. you should get a follow-up email from us that just says thank you for attending, and I'll make sure to have that handout in the notice you get. So there'll be a lot more resources in there. What I wanted to do quickly is to show you the tool that we have. If you go to www.recycleworks.org, and you can see the website listed up here, you can search for a place to take materials. You click on the Reduce, Reuse, Recycle link right here. Hopefully you can see my screen doing that. If you click on that, it'll bring up a database. And in that database, you can, let's see if styrofoam's in there. Styrofoam is in here. You click on a category, what type of material you have. So let's do styrofoam peanuts. You input your zip. I'm just going to use my zip code, which is kind of far away, but it does work. And it will show you the location of places that have that material. So anything that you're trying to get rid of in your home, you can use this website to quickly search for a variety of materials. As you can see, food, electronics, bottles, cans, baby supplies, mulch and compost packaging, and then it lets you drill down a little bit more to the specific item, put in your zip code, and it'll pop up a list of all of the locations that are, actually it just lists all the locations that are in the database, and this is updated regularly, so it's a great resource for you. I want to leave you with this information up on your screen, which is in Sue Lim's contact information, just in case you would like to find out any more information about our programs or offerings. So that concludes our webinar. We really appreciated having you on the call today, and hopefully you got some valuable information that will help you reduce the use of pollutants in your home or office. So thanks so much, and have a great rest of your day.